PK in the universe, and welcome to the channel. Today I'm here to talk about my experience at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is the first time I've been here in 10 years. First time I've been to the race, and obviously the last time I went it was an oval race, and of course the last couple of years, this is the third year of the road course in the NASCAR Cup Series. So I wanted to share my experience. The first time I ever went to Indianapolis Motor Speedway was with my wife, actually, and we had an absolute blast. It was a fun time. And I was telling her last year it'd be great to take Jack and the whole family. Well, my wife felt like, our daughter was a little too young to go, but it'd be great if me and Jack went, so we went. And I got some pretty good seats, I think. I mean, I enjoyed where we were sitting because you could see the finish line, you could see the bricks. So I want to share that journey with you guys. So I did record a bunch of footage while I was over there, so I'm going to show off that, and then I'm going to give my final thoughts. So here we go. Today we're headed to Indianapolis Motor Speedway for Jack's first NASCAR race. Very exciting stuff. Can't wait to get there.
Bye.
Yep, we're on the road now. Well, we made it. We're at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Pretty exciting. Can't wait to see the race start. The race is going to be on for, the race wasn't going to be for a few more hours. But we got here pretty early, and we're pretty excited.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. You excited for the race, Jack?
Super duper.
All right. Now we're just walking around, just seeing what's going on. So we're doing the track walk now here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is really freaking cool. I was, like I said, I was here 10 years ago and I never got to do this. So the nice thing too is since Jack is of a certain age, he gets in for free. So that's great. Yeah, I'm really loving this. I really love where our seats are too, because I can see my favorite drivers actually where their cars are parked. So that was really neat. So my final thoughts on going to the Brickyard, going to see the Verizon Indy 200, the road course, the Indy road course for the NASCAR Cup Series. It was a blast. I had such a good time. It got really hot at the beginning of the day. It was really, really hot, and I know that was tough for Jack because, he's 6 years old, and I had to carry him a couple of times, but we had a great time. We got there plenty early. We got there, I think, about an hour after they opened, because the gates open at like 10 o'clock. I think we got there at about 11. Found parking, had no problem finding parking. We parked kind of far away from our seats, but it all ended up working out because there's people like on Gators or whatever who will drive you to different places for free, to different parts of the track. So that's really nice. I had a good time. We brought a cooler, but it's still, even when you bring a cooler, it doesn't seem like it's ever enough. You still end up going to the concession stand, and stuff's expensive at concession stands. We didn't get any garage passes or pit passes or anything, and maybe we'll get pit passes next year if we go. We did do the track walk. We got some good pictures. The race, like, how did we feel about the race? I'm really glad I took him to this race because this race was short. And honestly, when your kid is 6 years old, you need a short race. This was an 82 lap race and it went by really fast. Like, it took forever to actually get it started because, we got there at 11 o'clock and the race didn't even start till like 2:45. But it was over before 5 o'clock. Was it 4:30 maybe when it was over? I can't even remember. It was just so fast. And the thing about it too, it was all green flags mostly, except at the very beginning, I think Justin Haley got in an accident. And we were, of course, rooting for Todd Gilliland. I was a fan of David Gilliland, ever since he won that Busch Series race at Kentucky back in 06. And when he drove for Yates, and then when he drove for some really other piecemeal together season in like 2009, I want to say it was. And then, he drove for Front Row Motorsports for years until basically he walked away and from full-time competition. And I've always rooted for Todd, who's his son, and he's been in Cup this is his second year in Cup, and he's re-signed with Front Row Motorsports, so he'll be there for another year. Obviously, it was disappointing that he didn't finish very well. I don't know what happened to his car, honestly, but when he went to the pits, you could tell his car was all beat up. I was like, yeah, he's done. But the huge plus side, of course, was that his teammate, Michael McDowell, won the race. I couldn't believe it or whatever. That was incredible. Now, and he dominated that race. It's not like, he just got lucky and a bunch of people wrecked. No, he dominated the whole race. He earned that win without a doubt. Not to say that he didn't earn his Daytona 500 win, because a win's a win at the end of the day. But he really, there was no doubt that he was the best car on that track. He had the best car, and he was the best driver in that car. So, ultimately, yeah, he won, and I was really happy about that. It's funny, too, we were sitting in, behind two Chase Elliott fans as well. And there was a Daniel Suarez fan from us as well, and they finished, up there, too. And so I was really happy to see that. Now, a lot of people might have different opinions about how that race went. Like I said, there was one yellow at the beginning, and it was just green flag the whole way. Now, if you like a bunch of cautions and you look like pure mayhem on your road courses, yeah, you probably didn't like this. And that's totally fair because that's your personal preference on, the type of races you enjoy. Totally understandable. That's a lot of people. Now, if you like a race that's pure racing, that requires actual strategy and not relying on yellow flags to come out every few laps because they didn't do any caution breaks whatsoever on the road course during the stages. And guess what? It made for some interesting racing. It made for some very interesting racing. Like, there actually were a lot of spins, actually. There were drivers that spun their car out and got spun by other drivers. I think it was like, who was it? Like Ryan Blaney, I think, spun out somebody. And was it Allmendinger? And I think somebody spun out Jensen Button. But the cars were drivable, so they got back on the track and there was no caution. And I think that was actually kind of interesting, because you had to work your way back up. And if you had a fast car and you were good, it was hard to pass. It wasn't hard to pass in the corners, but it was hard to pass you couldn't pass at all on the straightaway. Like, once you're on the straightaway, nobody's catching you. You're going to have to rely on those corners. So if you like pure racing, like that requires strategy beyond simply, you got to, rely on yellows, in your pit strategy, and getting out there, then you might have liked this. It reminded me of playing like old NASCAR EA games where I accidentally forgot to turn on yellows or whatever, and I was like, oh no, I have to like get back up and get going and see if I can pass people. That's what it reminded me of. So yeah. And my son, he had a great time. He really did. The beginning was kind of rough because he was kind of whining a lot because it was really hot, which, he's a 6-year-old, so that's kind of to be expected. And then there were certain points, where we had food from the concession stand. Of course, he's like, my tummy hurts, and I'm like, do I really want to take him home, And 5 minutes later, after you said my tummy hurt, he's, jumping around, making funny faces. And And just, he did this thing where he was like imitating everything I was doing because we couldn't hear. That was the other thing. It's so important to get your kids proper hearing protection, which I did do that. And I didn't give him earplugs. I actually had like things that go over his ears and stuff. Actually, my wife had this originally she had bought for our daughter, and actually they would fit over my wife's ears as well. So it's like I was like, these will work. Absolutely. I might get him a different headset next year, but this worked for what we needed, and it was great. It was so important. Yeah, keep your kids' ears protected or whatever, because these cars get loud. I don't feel like they got as loud as they were 10 years ago when I was at the Brickyard when it was the Oval, but it is still pretty loud, honestly. Maybe I'm wrong about it. Maybe I'm misremembering that. But I had an incredible time, and I can't say enough about the experience. I really do actually hope they still go back to the Oval next year, because there's been a lot of grumblings, a lot of rumblings in the garage area. A lot of the drivers and fans were like, let's bring back the Brickyard because it's more prestigious. I would like that simply for the fact that it would be a very different race than the one we attended this year. Not only that, I think I would pick different seats, actually, this time around. Because looking back, I was like, these are great seats because we get to see the finish line. But the problem is there's not much action at the finish line. I would have definitely wanted to be in the corners. It's the same with the Oval. Like the last time I was there, we sat in I think it was like the corner of turn 3 and 4 maybe. So we could still see the finish line in the distance, but it was great to see, from the cars battling side by side in the corners. So yeah, I would definitely pick different seats maybe next time, but it was still cool because it was still cool. We got to watch, Michael McDowell cross the finish line. That was great. And and I'm glad we stayed the whole race. I'm glad it was a short race and we stayed the whole race because, under normal circumstances, maybe I would have walked away. Maybe I would have been like, what, Michael's got this covered. Let's just go home, if he was really, but I wanted my son to experience the full race, and not to, I'm really glad it didn't rain. I'm really glad the weather was great. So I think that's important. For your very first NASCAR race, you should experience the entire thing. You should be there from start to finish. So yeah, overall, had an amazing time. I would definitely recommend it, going to a racetrack. It definitely is a different experience than just watching it on TV. I feel like this is a race maybe on TV I would have fallen asleep to, but while I was there, I actually had a great time. I love the atmosphere. That's something you can't replicate sitting at home watching on TV, is the atmosphere of being at the race. It was really, really interesting. And yeah, it was great. I definitely want to take my son again, especially if we're doing the Oval next year. So anyway, what are your guys' thoughts? Have you ever been to any kind of car race before? Comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and stay awesome in this universe. Thanks. Bye.